Good evening and happy Christmas Eve. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. 3 employees of a foster home are detained for child abuse. Artwork in remembrance of June 4th has been removed from 2 more universities. And COVID booster shots for all Hong Kong adults will begin on New Year's Day. 3 childcare workers have been arrested over a shocking case of physical abuse at a Prince Edward foster home. The case came to light when a nearby resident tipped off the authorities after witnessing the attack. Raymond Yang has the details.
What was supposed to be a safe haven for children became a torture chamber for some. Instead of having fun at the playground, a number of toddlers at this foster home in Prince Edward were physically abused in broad daylight last Friday. The callous acts were witnessed by a nearby resident who immediately notified the facility's operator, the Society for the Protection of Children. The group eventually called police on Wednesday. Superintendent Alan Chung of Kowloon West Regional Crime Unit confirmed that 7 toddlers aged 2 to 3.5 were abused by their handlers. This included yanking their hair, striking their heads with forks, slapping their faces, and throwing them on the ground, he said. The toddlers mostly suffered bruises and are in stable condition at the Children's Hospital in Kai Tak. 3 female staff aged 23 to 44 remained in custody. All are certified childcare workers and have worked at the home for over 2 years. Chung said at least 2 of them were directly involved in the assault, but insisted intentional negligence is also a crime. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
A 16-year-old boy who has been charged with inciting subversion has been granted bail. The Form 5 student is one of 7 members of the pro-independence group Returning Valiant who faced the same charge. He was released on bail of $50,000 with $130,000 in sureties. The teenager is barred from leaving Hong Kong, attending public gatherings, and communicating with witnesses or advocacy groups. He also has to go to school on Saturdays and stay home on Sunday mornings, unless for church. 2 more universities have taken down monuments commemorating June 4th. The Chinese and Lingnan universities acted a day after the Pillar of Shame statue was removed from the University of Hong Kong. Johanna Chen has more.
Posters covered the area where the Goddess of Democracy monument once stood in the plaza outside University Station. The statue was taken away in the early hours of this morning. But that didn't stop people from leaving flowers and candles, as well as pamphlets and books commemorating the monument and the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. The statue had been moved to the Chinese University campus in 2010 after the annual June 4th candlelight vigil in Victoria Park. After discussions, former Vice-Chancellor Joseph Sung allowed the monument to remain on campus, saying the university will protect freedom of speech and diverse opinions. But in a statement released hours after the statue's removal, the university said it had never authorized its display. It added that the 2 organizations that installed it on campus, the Hong Kong Alliance and the Student Union, had dissolved or were dysfunctional. In a written response, the university's Employees General Union said the statue stood for freedom of speech, collective governance by staff and students, and mutual respect on campus. It accused the university of being disrespectful by removing it on a school holiday without consulting staff and students. At Lingnan University, a wall relief at the B.Y. Lam building commemorating June 4th was torn down. Students who tried to take photos were stopped by flashlights. In an atrium of the Lao Li Yun Han Amenities building, a Goddess of Democracy painting was blotted out with gray paint. Chen Weiming, who created the statue at the Chinese University and the wall relief at Lingnan University, was concerned that his works might have been damaged. He said he will contact his lawyers in the United States, where he lives, to explore legal options. Yesterday, the University of Hong Kong dismantled the Pillar of Shame sculpture, which had been on its campus since 1997. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
This evening, people gathered at a Chinese university to remember the significance of the Goddess of Democracy statue. Around 50 students, staff, alumni, and others wrote messages on a banner near where the statue has stood. They lit candles on the ground and condemned the university for removing the artwork. All adults will be able to get their third COVID jab from New Year's Day. The start date was announced as Hong Kong's Omicron tally rose to 41. Johanna Chen has the latest.
In an attempt to boost protection against the highly contagious Omicron variant, all double-jabbed adults may get third doses from New Year's Day. The start date was set after Hong Kong experts recommended that people over 18 get a booster shot 6 months after their second jab. Previously, only those vaccinated with Sinovac and people in high-risk groups could get their boosters. The experts also urge adolescents aged between 12 and 17 to get a second jab. To accommodate what could be a high demand for extra shots, 9 of the 10 community vaccination centers will extend opening hours and operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. From next Saturday morning, people can book on the government website and can be vaccinated on the same day if a slot is available. Those who don't want to go online could go to the centers for same-day tickets on a first-come, first-served basis. But no bookings are necessary for the walk-in vaccination centers at Tai Po's Alice Homu Ling Nethersole and Yan Chai Hospital in Tsuen Wan. The Center for Health Protection, meanwhile, confirmed an import-related case. The 64-year-old man cleaned a toilet used by preliminary positive cases at the airport. The man had no recent travel history. All 26 environmental samples at his workplace came back negative, but 54 close contacts were quarantined. The Tuen Mun building where the man lives was slapped with a mandatory testing order last night, but no infections were found in On Hae House in Siu Hei Court. There were 4 imported cases to date, 3 women and 1 man from Germany, Ghana, Nigeria, and Australia. And 7 more Omicron cases have been confirmed, taking Hong Kong's tally to 41. They had been registered on Monday and Wednesday as imported cases from the United States, Britain, Switzerland, Qatar, and Morocco. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
Overseas, exhausted healthcare workers in the United States are struggling to deal with a rising number of COVID patients as the Omicron variant spreads. And Europeans are frustrated because newly imposed curbs are dampening holiday celebrations. People in Belgium rush to local Christmas markets before the lights go out after Christmas Day. Cinemas and theaters will be shut to slow the spread of the Omicron COVID variant. 1 in 3 COVID patients in Belgium carried a heavily mutated strain, which is projected to become dominant around New Year's Eve. But some businesses and shop owners said the measures are unnecessary, as Omicron is believed to be less severe. The atmosphere remains festive in the Norwegian capital, Oslo, even after a Christmas party fueled an Omicron outbreak. Alcohol sales are now banned in bars and restaurants, and social distancing and travel rules tightened.
I can't see my family as I usually do. I can't go to the Christmas party I usually do.
Usually we have like all my cousins over and my aunts and uncles and everything, and that makes this around 20 people. But today is just us 5.
Italy barred unvaccinated people from most public places as daily cases soared to a record high. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte expressed concerns that Omicron would deplete the country's coffers following the devastation caused by Super Typhoon Rai last week. In the U.S. state of California, hospitals resembled a war zone as exhausted healthcare workers scrambled to treat an influx of patients.
It's a little bit of a disaster mode that we're in. If we're busy now and we get even busier after Christmas, that's going to be really hard to manage.
New daily cases in the U.S. soared by 176,000 on average in the past week. The mainland city of Xi'an has tightened controls on movement ahead of the Lunar New Year. But in the United States, millions of Americans are taking advantage of the festive season to travel. 'Tis the season to be jolly and to travel, as demonstrated in airports across the United States. Almost 110 million Americans are expected to fly or hit the roads, a significant jump from last year when COVID thwarted holiday plans. But a growing Omicron outbreak forced hundreds of flights to be scrapped, with United Airlines alone ditching 120 flights on Christmas Eve. Some people said risks are worth it.
I came here for a funeral, and because of the importance of the person it was, that's why I decided to travel. But I am aware of the risk that I'm taking by traveling during this time of year, especially with the variants going around.
My brother just got diagnosed with COVID-19 like last week, so he's got to stay home until past Christmas. And yeah, just getting tested throughout the week, making sure that I'm negative so that I don't bring home the new variant.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said air travelers should wear masks and be double jabbed, but stop short of a vaccine mandate.
Rules, as you know, for international travels are different because international travelers must be vaccinated and tested within 1 day of departure to help keep COVID cases out of this country and delay any new possible variant from coming into the country.
It's a completely different picture in Xi'an, where 13 million people are isolated following a fresh Delta outbreak. All communities, villages, and work units were shut down, and residents told not to leave the city unless extremely necessary. It could further complicate the Lunar New Year travel rush, as authorities insisted on maintaining strict pandemic control. And coming up after the break. Dozens of people are killed in a ferry fire in Bangladesh. And former South Korean President Park Geun-hye has been given a pardon after spending 5 years behind bars for corruption.